So I'm Apolluss. I feel like I do a lot of things. It's hard to choose one word. I'm a photographer. I curate events for my brand called Notahoodlum. I also write poetry. The way I like to describe myself the most is a creator and curator. Anything creative, I can lend my hand to it. I feel like I started creating when I was around about 8 years old, and from drawing I went into graphic design. So like I create, currently the way I do graphic design is I create it for my brand, like branding purposes, and then music covers when artists contact me about them. And then I moved into high school, did art, did art, graphics, and then college, done the same, done interactive media, which is like a photography mixed with graphics, mixed with fashion photography kind of course, and then obviously now I'm at university. Notahoodlum is a protest that, it started as a protest, but it's since then moved into encompassing more than just a protest. I feel like protests are reactive to something happening. For example, like the Black Lives Matter protest was in response to police killings in America. So it's like something happening and reacting to it, whereas Notahoodlum is being proactive. It's storytelling in a way. It's telling people stories about young black men. For example, like the story of a music artist, how they grew, or for example, a story on our website is about a DJ that has sickle cell, called DJK, and how he copes with that, and how DJ is like an escape to him away from his sickle cell and stuff like that. So it's just about telling stories about young black men, so people don't see young black men as hoodlums, they don't see them as threats, they see them as just everyday human beings. And I think that's the most important part, seeing people as human, and seeing people as human beings rather than seeing them as anything else other than that. The mediums that we use for Notahoodlum is mainly, it begun as photography, so it was a photography project, trying to communicate the message through imagery and through photography. So what we like to say with our first projects, we use like ballerina-like poses, so it's a bit more flamboyant poses on like a black man. Also we use like colours such as pink. We did a shoot using flowers, but they were like the first few shoots getting into it, and since then I've realised that they were too typical. Like using pink, putting pink on a man is just so typical, using flowers to communicate that. So the way we're trying to communicate it now is like on a broader scale, so just through like storytelling, like saying, so photography is a medium, blogging, writing on our website is a medium, and now events that we are currently done one last year in April, and we're branding the events under the name Colours and Creeds. So it's about people of different colours, people of different creeds, different walks of life, all coming together under one night to celebrate. We call it an art meets music type of event. So at this event, the first event we done was in Chapter 1 Art Cafe. Chapter 1 Books Cafe in Manchester's Northern Quarter. So there's like 300 people who came throughout the night. There was music. It's like an exhibition / concert, that's what I like to call it. Expect there to be music, expect there to be art, expect there to be networking. Because I feel like it came from the idea that galleries and events, like if you want to get your work seen, there's not many places to get it seen. So we wanted to create a platform which catered for that, for young up and coming artists, so that if you just graduated from uni and you want your work to get put out into the world, you can come to a Colours and Creeds event and put your work there and have that seen to like 300, 400 people in one night. If you know what I mean, it's trying to create a platform for young creators and young artists who are doing things to get seen. Because I feel like it came from myself being frustrated that I've just done this amazing project and only 10 people are gonna see it. Like it's hard when you've created something that you know could go and be seen by millions of people and be loved by millions of people, but you just can't get that exposure. So it's creating something here in Manchester that allows people to get that exposure that they deserve. It's so important to help people. I feel like people think that they want all the limelight in a way, and if an opportunity comes to them that maybe they're not the best person for, they wouldn't pass it along to someone, their friend that is, and stuff like that. So it's not the way I worked. I come from like a big family, so like I feel like I'm more into the idea of like sharing opportunities. It's just about creating the scene and building the scene, especially here in Manchester. I think it's important to build a scene and to listen to the artists from your city instead of listening to the ones in America and championing them. There's a lot of artists in Manchester, music artists, photographers that are amazing at what they do, and I think they should be given the platform. For Colours and Creeds, we're asking artists to submit artwork, and one of the projects that came through already was by a Manchester photographer called Papa Quay. He's a good friend of mine, so I'm not being biased by saying it, but his project's just been put in some publication called Knee Journal, called Cambalade, and he's been publishing like ID and stuff like that, and his zine is about, I don't really want to tell people it's about something when it's not really about it, so I feel like you'd have to take a look at it to have your own interpretation, see what it's about, but that gets distributed in like worldwide stores, it gets distributed in Magma in Manchester, gets put well around the world, and it sells very well, and he's been just had his work put in there, and it's a project called Backwards Never, which is about him exploring his family and his heritage back in Ghana, and that's an amazing project. Like music wise, I'd say there's artists like George Lucid in Manchester. I've always liked his music and always supported him from doing radio and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a very, very healthy scene in Manchester at the moment, and there's a lot of even clothing brands. There's a brand called Canty. Their latest stuff's got Schizo. There's Graham in Manchester. I shot some of their stuff in Rome. Took the Mason Collective and Graham Hoodie to Rome and shot some of their stuff. There's a lot of brands in Manchester, and the scene is only going to get bigger. So yeah, it's just about helping out and pushing it on. A lot of my projects start as poetry, and the poetry comes from looking within. So I like to write about my experiences, but I write about other people's experiences as well. And sometimes they're not 100% true. Sometimes, when you're watching a film that says based on true story, like something's been added for your entertainment. So they are like exaggerated versions of poems, but then I turn that poem and flip that poem and turn that poem into a photo shoot. So I feel like it's a very unique way to work and to come at a problem. The first photography and film project I did was a project called Limbo that I did it's a project called Solitude that I did in college, and that was like a fashion film / poem, and it had like a poetry narrative going across the top, and I feel like that's where it started. My inspirations come from everyone around me, everyone I meet. You can always, everybody's special in a way, like I might not like 90% of what somebody does, but I can take that 10% and work with that. Yeah, like seeing the good in everyone and just evaluating life. I feel like it just comes from just taking in your surroundings and what you're around. Like, for example, your mum could be your biggest inspiration, but you could go look elsewhere where the power you're looking for to create something amazing is right next to you. You're a product of your environment, essentially. Like me, I come from a council estate in Middleton. If you get me, I've not really had the best upbringing. I won't say it like that. I've had an amazing upbringing, but there's always a glass ceiling when you come from where I come from. Like, I want to do this massive idea, but then there's something that will limit me, like whether it be money, whether it be, I think, don't come from a rich family, if you get what I mean. You're a product of your environment, but whether you want to get out of your environment, the way I say is that I captioned a photo ages ago and it stuck in my mind. It was like urban boy, upper class mentality. That's what I said. Like, I will always be from where I'm from, but I will get to the places I'm going to. But even when I get to them places, I'll still remember the people where I come from, and because that's always a part of who I am. I don't want to start. It sounds too corny, because it's gonna sound corny. Like I'm trying to sell something. Like, dude, come down to Colours and Creeds. But yeah, so Colours and Creeds will be happening in Manchester. It's where I always want it to be, even though I want to take it nationwide, then worldwide. I still want one event every year to be happening in Manchester, because that's the heart of why I'm creating it. So Colours and Creeds will be in Northern Quarter, 1 Stevenson Square. The store doesn't have a name. And I was speaking to the lady today, and she was like, people have different interpretations of words. So with her shop, she didn't want to name it because she didn't want people to have an assumption of what her shop is. It's totally unrelated to what I'm talking about, but put that in anyway. But yeah, so that's where it's going to be, 1 Stevenson Square in Northern Quarter. Yeah, so if you're free, come down to Colours and Creeds and look at the work that's on display, soak it in. Yeah, because there's going to be 10 artists, 5 musicians and 3 DJs there on the night to keep everyone entertained. But yeah.